Well, welcome to our weather impact report, where we take a look at the top weather stories here in Georgia and around the nation. I'm meteorologist Danielle Moss. Hurricane Melissa was a Category 5 storm that captured headlines most of the week. But first, let's talk about the heavy rainfall that we experienced this week in Metro Atlanta. Rain caused different problems on the roadways all over Metro Atlanta on Monday. A collapsed roadway in Clayton County stretched into Tuesday. 11 Alive's Doug Turnbull has a closer look.
It's been one of those days where weather affects the roads all over town, whether it's trees down or like you see behind me here on Pine Creek Road in the Forest Park area, a road completely washed out. The heavy volume of water certainly is something that can affect your ride in many different ways. So look at some video here of this crew in Clayton County digging down, trying to get this road fixed. And of course, this will not be an easy fix at this spot. But this wasn't the only thing we spotted in the traffic impact tracker truck. Also with the heavy rain and this time of year with leaves falling, drains can clog easily. And we've seen ponding all over the city, along with the numerous crashes we've covered here on the traffic team through the day here. And look, 285 north before Chamblee Tucker in DeKalb County in the Tucker area, ponding big time in the right lane and even across the freeway at different times too. So drivers had to slow and navigate that. And then earlier in the day in DeKalb County in Tucker, Hugh Howell Road at Rosser, a tree came down. It's been breezy out there, and part of Hugh Howell Road was blocked for a good bit of the morning drive. So we were covered with crashes and all sorts of issues on the roads, and there's more rain later this week that can affect your ride, so we're going to stay on top of that. In Forest Park, Doug Turnbull, 11 Live News.
Crews in Clayton say that road collapse was caused by a broken water line. They started installing permanent repairs the next day. Well, 2 tornadoes touched down Sunday in Jackson County, Mississippi, causing significant damage in the town of Goshen. One of the hardest hit buildings was a restaurant in the city where employees were inside preparing for the day. Megan Fayard reports.
Owners and managers at Aztecas say that none of the employees were injured during the storm. A huge relief, since the ceiling collapsed right where kitchen staff were preparing for the restaurant's 11 a.m. opening. And it's in this area where water and debris cover the floor. Pieces of the roof are scattered or completely gone, and even an exterior wall has crumbled.
I can imagine how they feel whenever they were inside of the building with all the storm. They were very, very scared. Fortunately, there was some safe spots for the restaurant, like the walk-in cooler, walk-in freezer, where they can be safe and they always stay safe.
It is unclear how long the restaurant will be closed, but the next few days will determine a lot for its future. Either way, managers say they will build back.
Well, I want to thank the community because, as I said before, everybody, it's been very supportive. Everybody's been very worried, and I have received all the message and calls and people coming to the restaurant, and hopefully we can be serving you guys again soon.
This popular Goshen restaurant is not the only building with damage after the tornado. Goshen Mayor Casey Vaughn says so far, the Glenmark Apartments and Riverbend condominiums on Martin Bluff Road, as well as at least 20 homes in the area, have seen significant damage.
Goshen is strong. We will continue to move forward. We have a lot of resilience, and we will come together as a community and be even stronger.
No injuries have been reported, but many in the community are in shock following the severe weather. I talked with many residents who say debris came through their windows, and others who say the sound alone woke them from their sleep.
It was scary. It was quiet, and then it was like a gush of wind, and we knew what was coming, so we went and hid in the closet. We all were crying, and my little boy was scared to death.
When they woke me up out of my sleep, I was scared, nervous, thought something was gonna happen.
Some residents in these apartments and condominiums have been displaced as a result of the damage caused by the tornado. It is unclear exactly how many people are affected, but as of now, the American Red Cross is still assessing damage and finding safe places for those directly impacted.
This was a team effort in helping us to make sure we know who was actually affected, and so that we could get out there. And we have people out there right now making assessments and trying to help and figure out what the needs are of the people that have been affected by the damage.
A total of 2 tornadoes were confirmed in Jackson County Sunday, but a formal damage assessment is not yet complete. We should know more in the coming days.
Well, flooding hit Central Florida on Sunday as well. Just east of Orlando, some roads were covered with high water, forcing officials to rescue some residents by boat. Police warned residents to stay off the roads if at all possible due to the conditions. And in Lake County, which is west of Orlando, more roads were flooded by heavy rain that may have caused some damage. One Titusville resident says this is a first for her in over 9 years of living in the city.
I've never seen a flood, like I said, in 9.5 years. Not even past, where the grass, you come on the grass on the other side of the sidewalk. Not even there did it ever flood.
As you can see there, the city of Titusville was hit hard by that heavy rain. It rained so much that the ground crew at the Space Coast Executive Jet Center in the city had to jump into action and tow a plane caught in the rising floodwaters to higher ground just to get it out of harm's way. Officials say that up to 14 inches of rain fell over the city on Sunday. That same system that caused flooding moved through Mexico Beach, Florida. Now they are working to find out if the city was hit by a tornado. Several people in the town recorded videos showing the damage around the area. Part of a hotel's roof was ripped off and thrown across the street. However, most of the visible damage was seen at an RV park in the city. That's where pieces of that roof landed, smashing RVs and burying vehicles. At one point, city officials were asking residents to stay off the road and limit wastewater. They said that the lift stations were not functioning because of power outages. Thankfully, no deaths have been reported, although some people were injured in the storm. The biggest weather story of the week was Hurricane Melissa, the strongest storm to hit the island of Jamaica since the 1960s. It was one of the largest Atlantic hurricanes ever recorded. Drone footage from Jamaica shows just how bad the Category 5 left damage across the area. The storm claimed at least 50 lives across the Caribbean. The most extreme winds were expected as Melissa tracked directly over Jamaica from Monday night into Tuesday, a situation eerily reminiscent of Hurricane Gilbert more than 3 decades ago. Families were boarding up, evacuation orders were in place, and the nation was preparing for what could be one of the worst storms in history. Families are boarding up. Evacuation orders are in place, and the nation of Jamaica is preparing for what could be one of the most powerful storms in its history.
That's a lot of danger for that country.
Andrea de Aguilar is originally from Jamaica, but now she calls Atlanta home. She has multiple friends and family members that are still there, bracing for the impact of Hurricane Melissa.
Storms, weather, whatever we get, we just got to prepare. They're just waiting for it to happen right now.
The strongest storm to ever hit the island was Hurricane Gilbert back in 1988. Andrea and her newborn were there when the storm hit. She says that it's something she'll never forget.
It was a lot of rain and wind, a lot. And we were just sitting there waiting, anticipating the worst to happen. And it did. I mean, it ripped off roots, satellite going everywhere. Animals, everything that was outside, it was lifting up.
Even with the grim forecast in place, she says that a higher power is keeping her grounded through it all.
We always try to stay prayed up because that's all we can do. With
more than 9 family members still on the island of Jamaica, all in different places, she constantly calls to check in. Tonight, many of them had an 8 p.m. curfew and the power was going on and off. She was able to speak to a close family friend who's been preparing for the storm to arrive for the last few days.
No, I've been through a lot. It's Jamaica, so it's tropical weather, so we always, every year, we expect to have something like this.
With mandatory evacuation orders in place, Earl decided to stay in Jamaica because his house is on elevated ground.
What I'm worried about is the aftermath, the structure, the infrastructure. So sometimes we lose electricity for weeks because of damaged light poles, So I'm kind of worried about the time it's going to take to get everything together if it gets that bad, you know?
Well, Melissa is being called the storm of the century after slamming into Jamaica with devastating effect on Tuesday as one of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes in history. Melissa made landfall on the island nation as a Category 5 storm with 185-mile-per-hour winds. The massive scale of destruction quickly became clear, with extensive damage reported across southwestern Jamaica. Schools, homes, and hospitals all affected by the hurricane. Officials said hundreds of thousands of people on the island were left without power. On Tuesday, Cody Alcorn spoke with a woman who was stranded in Jamaica with her friends after a girls' trip. Thornton said they tried to get out before the storm arrived, but the flights were all canceled. Here's her story about her journey home.
Assessments are still underway at Jamaica's largest airport, Singster International. While some images without context are alarming, the Minister of Transportation says their largest concourse, as you can see, suffered minimal damage. However, it's still unclear when commercial flights could resume.
Cody.
Hey, I know it's real spotty. How's the damage there?
It's pretty bad. The roads going to the airport, they're trying to clear it now so people can get out to their flights.
Kelsey Thornton sent me these images showing some of the damage at Rio Reggae in Montego Bay.
A lot of damage, a lot of trees down, a lot of mud, a lot of, it did a lot of damage. The pool area, everything in that area was kind of decimated. The huts that they had that were kind of where lounges were sitting, everything out there was kind of destroyed.
This video showing the conditions outside Thornton's room Tuesday, hours before the storm moved over.
Okay, with the storm, it went fine. We barricaded our room and we went in the bathroom. It was scary to hear all the sounds, all the wind, and there were parts of the building that were coming off, and you could hear it ricocheting across. And I mean, you really fear for your life. The Jamaican said this is the worst they've ever seen a storm come through like this, and just never being in this magnitude of a hurricane, it was really scary for myself and my best friend.
While the storm has passed, their troubles are far from over.
We're just getting enough internet service to see that it's been canceled.
Not sure when they'll be able to catch a flight, and Thornton says the resort is dealing with their own troubles.
The workers, they haven't even been able to go home, and some of them are walking off the jobs and they need to go take care of their home because it was decimated in the storm. Some people are staying to work. When we asked about having to pay, he said potentially yes. And even in this disaster, people may not have money. He said, how do you got it? That's run. So it's just a mess. It really is a mess.
Well, the death toll keeps climbing after Hurricane Melissa's devastating hit on the Caribbean. At least 49 people have died so far. The storm slammed into Jamaica on Tuesday as a powerful Category 5 hurricane. 11 Live's Chase Howell spoke with one woman whose husband went to Jamaica on a mission trip, never imagining he'd be caught in a storm like this.
I said, "I love you," all in caps. And he responded, "Good morning, love of my life."
Text messages like these, along with her faith, is what is keeping Danny Kwiatkowski grounded. She says her husband, Wayne, went to Jamaica last week on a mission trip with 19 other guys, knowing Hurricane Melissa could potentially hit the island.
Monday night, I couldn't sleep. And I was up all night between tears and praying and screaming at God and just, put a bubble of protection around our men.
Kwiatkowski says her husband is in Montego Bay. She says Wayne sent her these pictures of the resort Wednesday after the Category 5 hurricane blew through the city on Tuesday.
The slider was rattling and shaking really, really hard. So they took their sofa sleeper, pushed that and a desk up against the wall to help with the pounding.
Wednesday morning, along with spreading the word of God, Kwiatkowski says her husband and the other guys are spreading kindness as they help clean up the resort. But until they're home, Kwiatkowski is keeping scripture like Psalm 56:3 in mind. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you. Reporting, Chase Howell, 11 Alive News.
Well, Cuba was next in the path for Hurricane Melissa. The same storm left Jamaica as a Category 3 late in the evening, and it made its way towards Cuba. More than 100,000 people evacuated from their homes as the storm barreled through the island. Cuba's military prepared to support the country with rescue and recovery efforts. CNN's Patrick Oppman was in Santiago de Cuba with more.
The first outer bands of Hurricane Melissa are beginning to arrive here in eastern Cuba. Of course, conditions are just going to get worse and worse. We'd seen the streets up until now really kind of full of people doing their last minute shopping that they could, trying to find food, cash from ATMs. And now it's a lot more subdued, a bit of a ghost town. People are nervous, and they have very good cause to be, because this is one of the most powerful hurricanes that this part of Cuba has seen in years, if not longer. And the question is when these punishing winds come in, they will pick up roof tiles on some of these older homes, and those become shrapnel. Some of these houses, which are in some cases more than 100, 200 years old, it's not clear if they will withstand Melissa's punishing winds. Thousands of people have evacuated from low-lying areas, but by and large, people say they've done this before, they're used to hurricanes, they don't evacuate, they just wait it out in their homes. And you just have to wonder if this time around, if that's the wise choice to do, because this is simply a storm that could be more powerful than anything Cubans have seen in their lifetime. Patrick Oppman, CNN, Santiago de Cuba.
Before it made landfall as a Category 3 storm, it brought severe flooding to the southeastern coast of Cuba. As you can see from the video, the strong current of floodwaters rushed in. The locals were able to document this at the beginning of the storm. When the hurricane hit Cuba, the maximum winds neared 120 miles per hour. Rescue crews are working around the clock after the storm tore through the Caribbean this week. Nearly 50 people have been killed, and torrential downpours and strong winds slammed the region. It damaged homes, causing severe flooding and forcing hundreds of thousands of people to evacuate. Jamaica was obviously the most impacted. Melissa left about 70% of the island without power and shut down more than 80 roads. Jamaicans living here in Metro Atlanta are coming together not just to send relief, but to reconnect and rebuild. The Jamaican consulate held an outreach meeting, Irimon Cafe in Peachtree Corners, to organize a relief drive for the island. The drive collected supplies and helped people with passports, citizenship, and travel plans for those heading home to assist loved ones. Organizers say many are finding comfort in coming together during a difficult time.
They talk about their relatives and different persons trying to locate their relatives. Some parishes are more affected than others, so they are talking about their own parish where they're from. And so, we're here to support each other. So this is a very timely event because it is raw and fresh in our heads.
On Sunday, we received an update on the Metro Atlanta women whose dream vacation turned into a terrifying ordeal after they were caught up in the path of Melissa. The group was staying in Montego Bay when the powerful storm made landfall. They say winds howled through the night, ripping trees from the ground, knocking out power, and they had no idea how or when they would get home. After several tense days, some of the women finally made it back to Atlanta, but not all. Kelsey says she finally got a flight from Kingston to Panama City, Panama. That's when she knew she was home free before making it back to Atlanta. It was a very emotional time for her.
When we touched down in Panama, the whole cabin began to clap, and I broke down in tears. Because, for me, it really felt like I wasn't coming home. It felt impossible after all the flight cancellations and having to get to Kingston, which was a journey in itself. It just felt like I was never going to get there.
Kelsey says one of 14 friends from Atlanta on that trip, and 4 of them are still waiting for flights to make it back home. Well, that's it for this week's Weather Impact Report. Hurricane Melissa may be gone, but the season isn't over yet. Make sure you've got an emergency plan ready and sign up for alerts in your area. Every minute counts when storms form fast. We'll keep watching the skies so you can stay safe. See you next week with your Weather Impact Report. I'm meteorologist Danielle Moss.